YouTube, and welcome to another VexIQ Modkit software tutorial. In this video, we're going to be talking a little bit about using the controller to activate events versus just using events to run your whole code, also sometimes called autonomous coding. So, to kind of start us out, I have this kind of basic setup here where we have our cortex, a controller, a motor, and a touch LED all attached to this project. So we're going to start out by looking at the code inside of the motor. And I have two pieces of code that should accomplish approximately the same thing. One based on working things autonomously without any kind of human input, and one based on using input from a controller. And really the big difference here is the event that's driving it. Because while I've titled this controller versus event, when you're using the controller, you're still basing things off of events. However, you, or whoever's using the controller, is in control of those events. So in this case, we have controller button F up pressed. Or when you press the button labeled F upwards, the upwards F button, then run all the code beneath this block. And in this one, we each have a basic when start. When the start event happens, do this, and it's going to have the robot roll forward for 10 seconds. And if you'll notice, this event, we go down to controller, and we can see all the events available to us. All the different buttons, joysticks, anything like that. All the different directions, pressed and released. All of these different events can be happening. We can have something happen when we've pressed the button and something else happen as soon as we release it. You have a lot of control when you're using the controller. So, that's what it might look like for something real basic. Now let's look at the code for our touch LED. Again, I have it set up so that we have code over here for working autonomously without any human setup. And over here, we have it running with a controller input. And in both of these cases, you're going to see a light be set to green, you heard, and the light turn on. So, on the left, with the controller input, we again use one of the options from our drop-down list in controller. This time we're using controller button E up pressed. So when you press the E up button, then you're going to see all that happen. Over here though, I decided to try something out different just to demonstrate the broadcast block. So when the code starts, it's just going to wait a few seconds, then it's going to broadcast the light up event, which is just another defined event. And so this block will catch that and say, hey, it's time to light up. And we'll do the same thing as done before. Set the light to green and turn it on. And here you're going to see some examples of what that looks like.
Hello YouTube, and welcome to the study room on my floor. And we're going to be using this roof space just to do a quick demonstration of what I was talking about in this video. So first we're going to be looking at some controller code and just kind of watching some controller events activate this robot. I've altered the code a little bit just to make the demonstration today easier. And so we'll go over the buttons. This is the controller we're using today. And we're going to be using the E buttons as well as the F buttons. So you'll notice that light came on right there as I pressed the button. So when I press it down, it's going to go light off. When I press it on, light goes on. So there's one activation of it. And then if we press this button right here, the upward button on the F channel, we're going to see the claw move slowly upward. Now, this is useful because you may just want particular movements coming out of a button, or you may want to have preset motions. If you have a really complex motion that you have to repeat, you can use a button to move certain motors in certain orders without having to do it all using the joysticks. And this has just been a quick demonstration of moving the robot a little bit with buttons on a controller. Next up, we're going to be taking a look at what it looks like to run some autonomous code. Once again, I've made a few changes to what we were working on, but the basics of what's going to happen is that we're going to see, once I press this checkmark button right here and select the piece of code we're going to run, we're going to see the arm move up for a few seconds as soon as it starts, as well as after a few seconds we're going to see the light come on. And for good measure, the controller is over there on the table, so I'm not pressing any buttons except for this one on the robot. The robot will be doing it all on his own. So, as you can see, both those happened. I didn't touch the controller. The robot ran it all on its own. Now you can do a lot more complex things. You could run a whole challenge of a few minutes using just autonomous code, and you can make a fully autonomous robot that makes decisions on its own, just adding a few different sensors to it. So it's just a really fun thing to play around with and really useful and cool too.
Yeah, it looks like. Now that you've seen it, kind of what that looks like, I hope that this video is just kind of giving you an idea as to what it looks like to code autonomously so the robot runs on its own versus coding for the controller. They don't look all that different, but you can do a lot of different things with each. And happy coding.